You have to live below your means in order for you to be successful. This is a statement that you might have heard being thrown around. However, we can all agree that living below your means might not necessarily make you rich or a millionaire. However, we can agree as well that living below your means can take you one step toward financial freedom or financial independence. But in the lives of many South Africans, a lot of people cannot live below their means. And there's a statistic that I found that say that household debt in South Africa increased to 62.4%. So a lot more people are using debt to pay for things, and this shows that we are living way above our means. There's a lot of variables that are causing this. People are not making enough money, high cost of living. However, there are certain places that we can try to do our effort in order for us to cut down on cost. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 things that a lot of people tend to overspend on, and because of this, they end up living way above their means. In order for you to achieve financial freedom, you need to use less so that you can save the difference or invest the difference. So some people are okay living within their means, so they're okay paying from one paycheck to the next paycheck. That is very risky because you never know when an emergency might happen, but you do get a lot of people that are living way above. They end up using their credit cards and taking out personal loans to cover some of their basic needs. So let's dive into 4 areas that people tend to overspend money on, and I'm also just going to share on what can you do to try to prevent spending money on these areas. So before we get into that, if you are new to the channel, my name is Agnes and I'm here sharing my journey to financial independence. If you are not subscribed, please do subscribe, as I'm on my journey to reaching 1,000 subscribers, and that is super exciting for me. So please hit that subscribe button and also like the video and share it with someone who might benefit from it, and don't forget, leave a comment as well. So let's get into the video. The number 1 area where a lot of people tend to spend their money, tend to overspend on, is accommodation. We know that we all have to live somewhere. We need to have a roof on top of our head, but most people tend to spend a lot, way more than what they should be spending on the accommodation. And to think about it, nobody cares about where you live. As long as you have a roof on top of your head, you have a bed, you have a couch, nobody cares. Nobody cares whether you live in Sandton or you live in the south or wherever. So it all just comes down to who are the people around you. If you find that your friends or the people around you care about where you're living, then it's probably time that you start thinking about changing your friends or changing your environment, or changing the people around you, because nobody should care about where you're living. You need to live in a place that you can afford. So I've seen people spend about 80% of their income by only paying for the accommodation. Like, when you do that, where do you expect all your other expenses to fall on? My rule of thumb in terms of accommodation, and this is what also happens, this is what is also advised in a lot of literature, 50% of your income needs to go towards your basic needs, your accommodation, transportation, and maybe food. From my own experience, I've realized that if I can spend about 30% of my income towards my accommodation, that does help me. So I don't know exactly what your income is. You just need to work it out that you don't spend more than 30%. You shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your income towards accommodation. And this is like a combined household income. If you have two household income, then at least 30%, you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of that combined household income towards accommodation, because there's a lot of things that we need to spend money on. So some of the ways that you can kind of like save or cut down on accommodation cost is maybe finding a cheaper place that is still suitable to your needs, or maybe if you are still young, move back in with your parents, share a flat with a friend, or just try to cut down on that accommodation. But there shouldn't be a reason why you are overspending money on the accommodation to suit your status or to make people around you happy. If your friends or whoever that is around you cares about where you're living, then that's a problem. The second area that people overspend on is transportation. Why do people spend so much money on getting a car that is only purpose of the car is to transport you around? If you are not rich yet, or you do not make enough money yet, you don't have to go take out a car that is going to cost you 50 to 60% of your income. Like, that's crazy, and that's what a lot of people are doing. So as long as you can move from point A to point B, you are fine. Some of the ways that you can save on transportation or cut down on transportation is to use public transport. Depending on where you live, you might have difficulties using public transport, but in most of South Africa, public transport is quite common, and you can always get a taxi that can connect you to the CBD, and from the CBD you can get a taxi that is taking you to it. Sometimes taxis are not as reliable as you'd expect them to be, so then you can use something like a bus. But if that is still not a case for you, then start sharing a ride with someone who you work with, and if you live in the same area, start sharing a ride. But if any of those cannot work for you, then if you need to get a car, you need to make sure that you're considering getting a car that you can afford. Don't get a car that you qualify for, because you can qualify for an amount that you cannot afford. So make sure that you just do not take all your money and throw it into the car that you're going to drive because you want to drive a nice car so that people can see you driving a nice car. At the end of the day, those people don't even care about the type of car that you're driving. It's only because you care about showing them what you're driving. Living close to work makes a huge difference. So there was one stage when we lived like about 10 minutes away from my workplace, and most of the time I walked to work. And on days when the weather was not too good, let's say for example when it was raining, I could Uber to work and it still won't cost me too much. You should consider getting a place that is close to your living close to work. If that's not possible, then at least live in a place where you have easy access to public transportation. The third area where people overspend is food. Food. We have to eat, we know that, but we spend so much money on food. Personally, I've made choices that made me spend so much amount of money on food, like changing places of where I'm shopping because I simply got an increase. Of course, quality is super important, and that's something for me. I spend my money on quality food, but I always just make sure that I don't go and spend an excessive amount of money on food. And another thing that can help you save money on food is meal prepping. So also it will depend on what you like to eat. Meal prepping does come a long way. It helps you to save time and save money. So if you don't really like your own food, you don't like how you cook, then you can take a course, take your cooking course, watch some YouTube videos on how people cook, start making easy recipes that can help you save money, because eating takeout costs a lot. It's costing you money to buy. It's also costing you transportation to go to these places or to have this food brought to you. When you put all these fees together, it just adds up to so much. So try to meal prep or cook at home to save money on food. And then the last area that people tend to spend so much money on is entertainment. So depending on what you do for your hobbies or what you do for fun, you shouldn't be spending credit money on your hobbies. Like for me, I've done it before and I regret doing it, but it was a lesson I've learned. You just can't be spending an excessive amount of money on entertainment, because these are the things that will always be, they will always come and go. Unless it's that one lifetime entertainment, you can get away with it. But the thing is, you always have to be conscious and intentional about your habit, because you can't, let's say there's one concert, your favorite artist or your favorite singer is coming to your city, and this is like a one lifetime event, so you don't have money and you feel like you need to take out debt to go see this person. You can get away with that, but when it becomes a habit, then it's just start building up, and in the long run it will not work in your favor. So entertainment, again, a lot of people tend to overspend on entertainment because of the peer pressure that they get from their friends. So if your friends are causing you to spend an excessive amount of money on entertainment, then it's time for you to change your friends. Like, I just don't see why I have to measure up or meet up to my friend's standard when it comes to entertainment. Personally, it just doesn't align with my values. So those are 4 areas that people tend to spend a lot of money on. And if you do a budget to track your expenses, you'll easily notice the patterns to see exactly where are you overspending. And once you notice that pattern, then you can try to do things a little bit differently so that you can spend less and have some extra money to save and invest. Let me know in the comments, how do you budget your money in order for you to live within your means? With that being said, I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye.